This video brought to you by jadedpainting.com. If you need your miniatures painted to a tabletop standard, check out jadedpainting.com. Hey everyone, welcome back to this painting tutorial. My name is Jay and I'll be showing you how to paint this Vargard Obyron for the Necron army. I continued working on the green areas of the model by giving them a bile tan green shade. This green shade will get in all the recesses and give a lot of depth and richness to the green areas, especially the head and the bottom of the staff and the areas of the cloak. Remember, if after one shading you're unhappy with it, feel free to do a second shading. Just remember to let the first one dry completely before proceeding to the second one. I then began a gradient by painting a certain amount of areas of the head of the staff and the bottom of the staff with a 1-to-1 mix of Caliban green and WARPSTONE glow. As you can see, I'm basically just focusing on the top third of the head of the staff and the middle, and I will be building up just a little bit of layers at a time of each highlighted color. That way you can produce a really nice gradient by hand. This is the best way to do it if you don't have an airbrush. As you can see, it took a little bit of time because the goal is to do a very smooth gradient, so you want to be precise in how exactly far you go with each color. And then next, I went over a subset of these areas with WARPSTONE glow. As you can see in the center of the staff, I'm just focusing on the very, very center of the previously highlighted area. And with these highlights, the key is to do a subset of what you previously did in the previous step. So you don't go as far if you're doing a gradient up to down, or you just choose the center of the location that you did in the previous step. I also recommend watering down these paints or diluting them a little bit with paint thinner. I did with about a 2-to-1 mix of paint to paint thinner. And that way you can get a really nice thin paint and produces a very smooth gradient when you're going from a dark to a light color. And next I continued on these gradients with a 1-to-1 mix of WARPSTONE glow and MOOT green. This is a intermediate green color, and as you can see I'm just focusing on the center of the areas in which I painted the WARPSTONE glow, and I'm going a little bit closer to the edge of the head when I'm painting the bottom part. And on the bottom of the staff you can see that I'm painting inverse gradients. I'm going from dark to light on the outside and then light to dark on the inside. And finally I continued these areas with MOOT green and just continued doing the same gradients. And then I used Waywatcher Green Glaze, which is a fantastic product if I do say so myself, and this glaze is going to tie all the colors together. It'll end up darkening the brighter ones and it produces a really nice transition, and it really helps blend these greens. I then started all the wiring on the model with CALEDOR Sky, a really nice rich dark blue, and I focused on the wires on the inside of his chest and the ones on his staff. And then I highlighted all these areas by doing an overbrush, so just picking up on the raised areas, the ripples on the wiring, with Techless Blue. Techless Blue is a bit lighter than the other ones. And then I gave them a Dragonhoof Nightshade to get in the recesses and give a lot of definition to the recesses of the wiring. That way you have about 3 different shades on the wiring alone, which is a really nice transition when you're painting wiring. For this Drakenhoof Nightshade, I did water down about a 1-1 mix of Drakenhoof Nightshade to water. That way it just got in the recesses, but didn't tint overall the highlights that we just did with Techless Blue. Rather than painting black on the staff body, I actually just decided to use gray liner, which is a really dark matte gray produced from Reaper. I really prefer it over black, since black tends to be really shiny and dimensionless, especially when using the GW colors. Black is a very shiny color. I prefer the matte of this gray liner. Plus it produces the recesses actually end up looking very black, and when you hit the staff with a certain amount of light, it looks gray. I then edge highlighted the bottom part of each section of the staff with Administratum gray. I only focused on the bottom, and then I cleaned it up a little bit afterwards with a little bit of gray liner. I painted all the gold areas on the model with Balthasar gold. For these golds, I really love Balthasar gold. It is a great base color that will easily set the foundation for all your gold areas, and it's very easy to go over any color of primer, and it's really easy to go over with highlights and washes afterwards. Personally, I'm a huge fan of the new color metallics from the Citadel range. As you can see, I'm going very carefully and trying to avoid painting over any of the green areas that we just spent so much time building a nice gradient, such as the orb or the head of the staff. I also used Balthasar gold on his head and painted both the sides and the front of his head Balthasar gold while keeping the nice white in the center of his forehead. And finally, I painted the symbol on his chest with Balthasar gold. And as you can see, it goes over really nicely, even over the dark green. I gave all of these gold areas a 1-to-1 mix of non-oil and Agrax Earthshade, so it ends up being a black-brown shading. The shading will get in the recesses and do a really nice dark tint to the gold areas, making them a little bit more older and worn down. I really like giving a black-brown shading to my gold areas. And after the shading was dry, I highlighted all of them with Gehenna's gold. I focused on all the raised areas, leaving the nice shading in the recesses. I really like Gehenna's gold. It's a nice warm reddish gold, and it really makes these gold areas pop and stand out. As you can see, it really brightens up the gold areas when you leave the recesses the shade. And finally, I gave all these areas an edge highlighting of Auric Armor Gold, just specific sections in which the light source was hitting, such as the top of the forehead and wherever the light was hitting, specifically on the edges of the staffs. So almost an edge highlight on these areas. And Auric Armor Gold is just a very bright gold, and it'll make these areas really stand out when being hit by light and create a nice gradient of dark golds to light golds. And that's it. You now know how I painted up this Vargard Obyron model for the Necron army. Overall, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I think it turned out really nicely, and I really love this model. He looks really tough, and he's really awesome on the battlefield. Hey everyone, my name is Jay, and I really hope you enjoyed this painting tutorial. Please like the video, leave comments in the comments section down below, and subscribe to my channel if you already haven't done so. It really does help a lot. So if you really want to check out my channel, please click on the link right up here. If you want to check out some of my previous videos, click on the link right here, and check out www.jadedpainting.com, my commissioned painting studio. If you want your miniatures painted to an awesome tabletop standard for a good price, check us out, because we would love to paint your miniatures for you. So until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting everyone.